I like the first time I pitched you with the podcast, I was like too self-aware of coming and approaching you to be part of it, because there are levels to this thing, and you are always been like a mentor to me. And like since Aldridge, you've always helped me with the things that I'm doing, even if it is a motivation or even if it is some kind of advice. You are always there. So I was so self-aware when coming and approaching to you to be a part of this. And I don't know what happened. You just said yes. You were like, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Because I always thought you were the kind of person who never advertised yourself. You always wanted your brand to represent you instead of you representing the brand, which most of the people been doing for a long time now. What changed? So you were like, okay, you were like, let's go, let's do this.
You see, it varies from person to person, but you see, since you know me for quite years now,
it's been 7.
Yeah, it's been about like 7 years. See, I see a lot of people who worked with me who, partially left me. Somebody who already, some people who cannot work in a box. But what I understood as you as a person in the much early days of the career is you're not a person who could work on a certain box and work on a certain task. So that is what defined you. So I saw that in you long time ago. Because you see, one thing that you as the entrepreneurs or somebody who's gone before you in terms of success, they see is, is this guy investable? Because because every time I come up with a certain thought and idea, you embraced all of those ideas. You try to structure those ideas and put things in place. At least even you didn't know what outcome would that be, but still you structure those ideas just parallelly working with me. So that gave me a certain level of edge. But when you came up with this strategy of trying to reach out to people, as so-called the ACE and beyond, it's what a fantastic idea because you're trying to look something beyond. You're trying to go an extra mile, which would certainly help people and navigate their careers and navigate their professions and all of that. So that's what impressed me at the much earlier stage. And at the same time, you always instigated me, though, why is that you're not, you're in a better position doing a lot of stuff. Why that you're not come out well? So I thought maybe I need to begin with you because this is your idea. So
it's been 2 years. I've been asking you to change the handle of your username. You still haven't done that. And you were always like comfortable there. And it was so surprising for me to see that you are willing to do this and you want to be a part of it.
Well, you see why it's been about 3 years I'm off from all the social media and handles and all of that. But now I've come out. I think this is the beginning, the start to do and tell exactly what we are. Because one of the things that I believed in, because you see, when you're trying to stabilize something, you take any business, you talk about a restaurant, you talk about a podcast, you talk about entrepreneurship, you talk about events. Because one of the biggest mistakes that people do today is they are too overwhelmed with what opportunity and idea they have, and they keep scratching over it. And somehow, instead of building a fortress, they try to build a small castle for themselves. But eventually, what they built in a much early stage doesn't stand too long, because in a very small stage, they try to do a lot of things. So they fail. So that's something that I learned. So over time, the reason that I never came out in social handles and all that, because when you're stabilizing business in any aspect, you need to be too big to be too small. So now when people try to, now you think that you could defeat in what I've created. It's, even if you tried mathematically, I'm undefeated. So I built those time.
Yeah, you've got a big portfolio. You've got Aldridge International, which is doing 9 to 10 events annually. You've got NIAM, you've got Tradesman Group. You've got a lot in your bag, and you have time to do all of this, which is really surprising, because I'm doing one thing and I'm not even able to complete that.
You see, the idea of, we come up with a lot of ideas. We're trying to achieve a lot of things. But the question arises, do you really need an idea, or do you need the money for your business? So many people think, if I ask you a question, Saga, do you need money or do you need an idea for business? Yeah, you see, some people go by saying like, I need both of them. Some people say, if I have money, I would invest here and make money. And some people say that, okay, if I have an idea, we could still make money. But what I believe in, as long as what you write, whatever you write on your table and whatever the idea that you have, if it is investable by people, if it is people find a real value sense in that one, if you can able to add something to their life, I don't think so you need money for it. So that's what I specialized from the very beginning. I never worked for money. All I did is I tried to navigate and add value. Yes, I never, in the very initial days of my life, I never made any money, but I was trying to help and making sure that everybody is valued from end to end, from the entire business chain. So that's what it's today's success we're talking about. Yes, we have 4 or 5 companies in terms of an idea strategy that you're working on. You have been a great help in terms of structuring, at least visualizing the way I visualized. If I could show, the good thing is I can show this is what I wanted to achieve, and that's what I want to look at. You are in a better position to always visualize alongside with me. So the edge worked for me to navigate things and structure things. So even some of the places where I felt the car was stopped, and all of a sudden I found ignition from your thinking. So it helped me in certain areas to structure those things. So that's what helped. So in which I was fond of those things, because that's the people that you like to always work with. Somebody who could think. You can't work with somebody who's very monotonous in their job. So you need to work with somebody.
Yeah, you always told me the skills with the tools is not the most important thing. It's the idea to make it or to conceptualize.
Yeah. So you see, people are with a lot of skill sets, but the one thing is, I see no matter what educated you are and how you are, but you see skills are irreplaceable. You can't really replace skills. I can really put in a guy who can do the same thing that you do, but end of the day, your skills and his skills would be completely different. But if you're a better visualizer, but still you will be the guy who's better skilled. True. That's where you will stand out. So you've been standing out for quite some time, and it's a very great initiative that you're beginning with. And I think it will have a long way to go with great people to work with.
Talking about great people, from the next episode onwards, we will have guests. So what are the kind of people that you're looking to talk to?
Well, yes, we are. I mean, from the business sense, we have a lot of CEOs from the energy sector and the entertainment, a lot of people that we could bring to the table, and we could discuss a lot of things. But I think, again, you see podcasts, again, we talk about views, we talk about opinions of people, which of course helps the generation today, because people need to be learning what it is. Because if you see the younger generation today, I mean, everybody in a dilemma of looking for a shortcut today. Even a guy who's just out of college wanted to achieve something. But for me, I always looked up, I'm a bit of old school. I really go after people who really worked out their life to become somebody today. Okay. So I was not that, I mean, for my personal life, I look up to an incredible man who's called as Uebert Angel. And I mean, I admire every aspect of this man. I mean, in terms of what he have achieved in his life and how he turned out a business mogul and listed in the Forbes, and a great inspiration to me in person. So I really look up to him in every area of my life. Another man called Dr. Myles Munroe. So he's another, I mean, what I understood from him is he takes an advantage. He teaches people in terms of what it takes to be a man. Because today today's world have forgotten the importance of man today. And everybody is kind of trying to behave like women, because there's a lot of women in
there's a lot of that going around. Yeah, that is a different topic.
No, that's what I see. But you see what it takes to be a man. That's why I look up to him. So that's Dr. Myles Munroe I'm talking about. Yeah, we have a series of people, but he's late now. He's no more. But we have a series of people that I really look up to, and that have helped me a lot to stabilize myself. I think what we're going to be looking at is also the new emerged CEO, comparatively to the established and successful CEOs and influencers. We're gonna look at for people who really have a drive to become somebody. That's who the people we're going to be looking to host.
And some of the people that I want to have here are the kind of people who are interesting to speak to. It doesn't matter if it is a CEO of a company or a worker of a company. As long as he have an interesting story to share, I am so happy to host him and have him as a guest and talk about their life and how he've done what he achieved, or anything related to that?
See, that's what I talk about is what's, you see people who are less affordable. I mentioned it there much earlier. I mean, when we begin, when I say less affordability in all aspects of life, because not everybody today can afford to sit in front of cameras. Not everybody could position themselves well to spark the life. But if you have been somebody to pay way for somebody and you're in that position, that you could, and why not? So that's what you need to be, because you're talking about something is and beyond. Because if you're not beyond, you cannot help somebody to be beyond tomorrow.
Sure.
So that's what it is. Whole idea of this is to navigating people for the betterment of life and positioning. Because you spoke about the interesting stories to share. You spoke about, we can speak about how they've influenced and how they have turned things around. So everybody today, we believe there's a story to share. So
even if it is some kind of a different opinion, even if it's a debate, even if it's something that we both see the different side of, I'm still happy to host it as long as it is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we are looking at. I think it's a very great kickstart for people around the world to see what we are doing. So I think it's going to be bigger, better, brighter in days to come with the great artists and influencers we're looking at.
Do you have a dream guest? If you can think of anybody you want here with us to, and you have 1 hour to speak to them, who would it be?
I would anytime choose a man of my heart, which is again Uebert Angel. I think he has been a significant importance in my life in terms of to how I stabilized and how my faith have developed over time. And that's the person that I would desire to, be under and sit under to learn something today. So when you mentioned that, you can make a lot of rules. Yes, you can write rules. You can talk to me. Everybody could come a rule. But this is the same thing I was thinking much earlier. Okay, we are in front of cameras. We're going to be looking at people. We're going to be talking to people. Yes, influencers, yes. But if you actually look at it, and everybody have a certain level of aura themselves, that level of charisma themselves. But if you ask any successful person today, what have influenced them and what have helped them? And some would answer that they would say that, some would say it is a grace. Some would say that somebody helped me. Somebody would say it's a favor. And but if you actually see what have worked for people to stabilize their lives, because they were their own signatures of their life, in which they modeled themselves very well. They were not into to having a certain rule of their life.
Basically, they were not following a certain path or following someone. They were their own path, and they waved their own whatever they made it themselves. They didn't follow anyone. They had their own ideas. And
yeah, you're right. But that's what I'm talking about. But you see, also, it is important because you can't be a master without you being a servant.
True.
So you need to be a follower of somebody in order to be somebody tomorrow. Yes, today, if you look at the kind of a generation that you're working, everybody wants to be somebody without being nobody.
True.
So when we look at the ideology of, okay, yes, it's good. We had some homework done. We looked at some people, the influencers, people, how they're doing and all that. It is a good thing to know the know-how. But the truth is, when you are given a certain task, for example, you're given to talk, you're going to talk about you. What's there inside you is what's going to come out. You're not going to talk something fake or different. That's why it says that, be careful of what you speak or what you open your mouth. Because when you open the mouth, the whole world knows about you.
True.
So that's what is more important. So people who are successful today are somebody who have, it's important for the generation to be under somebody for a certain time and then stabilize the certain, because you can be a more, you can have develop thousands of ideas in order for you to be successful. But if you do not understand submission, if you do not understand the value of being work, you won't develop an art of success. You might be successful, but you cannot sustain that. So it is important to develop that over time. That's why you're bent on certain areas of your life for a certain time, because maybe it's because of attitude that would have not worked, or maybe it's because of the handling of things. Maybe the response would not work. Because in the life, you might be working with thousands of people. You might be you're dealt with a lot of your clients and talking to them, and your colleagues who are great celebrities today. So you would have been talking to all of those guys. But today, what would define you is how you would not take anybody for granted, from the guy who's from the smallest to the guy who's the biggest. That's what would define you. And that's what defines us in launching this Ace and
Yeah,
Beyond.
I've always noticed that you respect people who honor stuff, like who are loyal, who honor the word that they say. I mean, you always help them out. I've seen you helping out a lot of people, including, let's say, Favor. You've been helping out for him for a long time, and you do charity works. You do your church works, and you are giving back to the community.
You see, one of the things that I've early days that I've learned is, and even still today I'm learning is, do not make money your master. The moment you become submissive to money, you would lose it.
Right.
The moment, because it's you should be the master of money. Money shouldn't be the master over you. So what happens is the moment you hold money, it becomes master over you. So immediately it loses, you become a slave to the money. But if you change the other way around, in which you're allowing to encourage people and do what it is, tomorrow, you see, I am the only gadget invested by my parents. So today, is this gadget functioning? Yes. It is because of what? It's because of the investment that they've made. Maybe some navigated, some people who helped me to find jobs in the early stages in Dubai. I mean, wherever they are, I salute them. I respect them utmost. But if you see, if every success of any man today, it would not come from above, it will not come from left. It is another man who helped you.
True.
Because all men, when they look, whether they pray, whether they look for help, it takes another man to pave the way for that man.
True.
So the moment if you do not understand, you might be sitting under greatness. You might be sitting under great people. But if you don't undervalue the greatness around them, you might lose that individual. And just because, probably if your destiny was connected with them, you just lost it because you were too light with that. So I understood at a much early stage. I think you spoke about Favor, a football player. The guy is very, I mean, you know him for many years. He's still finding his way to join the club, the football. But we managed to send him to Russia. We did all of that. But what happened now? He came back. He couldn't succeed. But still he's around. But you know what he told me at some point? He said, Samuel, I understand that you kept me over for a certain time. But the first thing I do is, if I get to join a club and if I make $1 million, the first thing I would do is to get you an office because I see you struggling a lot. And that's my gift to you. Probably he made it for like a sense of saying that to me. But for me, it was not, when he said that, it was not easy to digest it when he said it. Because those are the people that he dealt. But for me, what is my desire? Is for people scaling up. Because you see, the moment you become selfish when you're a growing businessman, it might look like you are taking off, but that's your greatest downfall. But what is important is empowering people to become who they are is what we're going to be empowered you in return to know that consciously that you have enabled the person to be successful in their life. So for me, when I look at this giving back, because what are you here for? If you look at a graveyard, in the graveyard, how many books you think would have been buried with a person who desired to write a book? If you look at a person, if you wanted to build a building or have kids or 3 or 4 kids, how many kids and how many generation, how many buildings, how many presidents, how many people have just without them achieving, they went to the grave. So if you dig the grave and see, it is full of desires and full of passions, and not many have achieved it. But can you be that stepping stool to give a hand to somebody
Someone
to raise?
else.
Yeah, and that's not because today we are living in a selfish generation, and I mean, it's me, myself, and my family. It's a very European, Western culture. But I would encourage the audience to come to India, to see Africa, to see what kind of bonding that the families and the villages they have. But it's slowly diluting because of the influence of people, because it's they themselves and their family, which is a very wrong intention. I mean, you survive just because of your company. So all your life you're favored by your company. No, that's not it. Because how many people in Dubai, they're really looking to have a family. They wanted to have something because money is there. Everything is there around. There's a luxury, there's spa, there's everything that's keeping you warm. But if you knock the hearts and you ask them, are you really happy and content? You know what they say? I really wish to go home and breathe.
Yeah.
I really wish to go home.
Just want to go home.
Yeah. So this is the desire of people. So our idea is, why don't we make them feel home, everybody who we meet with? And it's very, very, very few people find that connection when you meet people. For example, I mean, I don't know if we had to work in the future, but at a very early stage, I know that ever since you start structuring, doing things on your own and all of that, I know that probably that, I could get somebody, but somebody who knows me, somebody who could align, somebody who could work, though there's a lot of ups and downs and funny things going on, but still I was sticking to my lane. And that's the output. Because if I would have disconnected the lane because of certain things, we would have not been here by now.
True.